Good afternoon. It's McCollum on Business. I'm Stephen McCollum, and for the next 30 minutes or so, I'm going to get you updated on what's happening around the business world. Obviously, we're dealing with a government shutdown and what those aspects are. So not much of any updates on that. Just a stalemate happening. However, the U.S. China trade thing is still negotiating, right? In terms of publicly, a lot of fighting as we talked about yesterday out there, and so no real updates other than that stuff happening around, of course, the government shutdown and that tariff side. But with that being said, let's get into that market watch. And right now, the markets are doing well and up there. The Dow Jones right now, well, it's positive, 392. It was negative earlier in the day, so we've seen a positive turnaround here. 393 right now is where it's at, 46,456. The S&P 500's up 24 points to 6672. The Nasdaq's down, 53 points, 5365 right now, 22,640. And look at me, I just went into this trend of everything being up, but that's not the case for the Nasdaq. The Russell 2K, that small cap index, well, it's up 49 points right now to 2512 as of this moment. Bitcoin, well, down again today. So 125,000 last week, slowly come down. Well, it's down to that 113,000, 103,000 for Bitcoin here today as that continues to have big ups and downs throughout the week there. So basically, investors are just trying to shrug off the U.S. China trade conversation that's happening out in public. We do know that the federal chairman, Jerome Powell, suggesting that tightening program, well, that could end soon. He does not do any guidance on rates today. No hint on, easing the policy or, tightening it up from that side. But in terms of the tightening program that he's talking about, that he says that the Fed is nearing a point where it will stop reducing the size of its bond holdings, which means they were selling a lot of their bond holdings. And he's saying that could come to an end here soon. All of that news not affecting the stock market too much. Obviously, NASDAQ down today as well. And stocks that we're paying attention to right now, Nova Minerals is the first stock we're going to look at. Mining company out there, 119% up right now. When I looked at it early today, it was only up 80% at that time. So huge growth here. 119 points up. Percentage points up right now. Obviously, on pace for its best day ever with this rating here as well. They said the Australian ambassador to the U.S. approached the company, Nova Minerals, regarding its Estella Gold and Critical Minerals project up there in Alaska. So he said, quote, "This briefing is in preparation for the upcoming meeting between Australian Prime Minister and the U.S. President Donald Trump. And they're scheduled to meet next week. Out there. So obviously that brings some attention to government investment here in this company, soaring today, 118.68% up right now. Nova Minerals is. We're going to look at the other rare earth material U.S. stocks later on in the program. So stay tuned for that as we give you an update on how those have been also soaring over the last week. And then right now we're going to look at Albertsons, though. Albertsons, the supermarket chain. Well, they're up 13.98% right now. Fiscal second quarter earnings for them, it topped revenue side, at least topped Wall Street estimates out there. The board also authorized an accelerated $750 million stock buyback for Albertsons as they're continuing to fight to stay relevant in that grocery chain side after that failed Kroger merger end of last year there. But look at them. Topping revenue estimates there for Albertsons right now. And then let's stay in the food category, but let's go over to Domino's Pizza. We know they're doing their big remodel coming up in terms of their logos and everything. Well, they're 3.53% up right now. Their third quarter earnings and revenue, not a shocker. They are doing well this year, and it also exceeded analyst estimates here for Domino's Pizza. They're one of the few companies in this space that's having success here this year. Domino's U.S. same-store sales grew by 5.2% in the latest quarter compared to last year's time frame in the same time period. So last year it was at Well, the estimates this year were 4.2%. So obviously exceeded it by one whole percentage point for Domino's Pizza here this year. And they are one bright spot in that delivery, in that category of restaurants that deliver, et cetera. They're a bright point there for Domino's Pizza this year, and they continue acting on that. As I said, as we come back later and look at the market watch and give you our final update here for this Tuesday, well, we'll look at energy fuels, MP Materials, USA Rare Earth again. Obviously, we've been watching these stocks with the China U.S. Trade arguing, we'll put it that way, have been going on with these three companies. And then, of course, we'll look at Polaris out there. And I don't know why I said, of course, but because I knew it was coming. Snowmobile manufacturer, vehicle, maker. Now they do jet skis and that type of stuff as well. Well, we'll look into them as we go into these, of course, winter months coming our way. And are people going to be buying them is kind of the question. So there's no real updates on the government shutdown. The China-U.S. trade talk going on, just a lot of people saber rattling right now, and that type of stuff happening. So not a lot of differences there between those stories. So let's just get into some new stuff out there. And the big one is, if you filed your tax extension this year, even though there's a U.S. government shutdown, well, you need to get that tax report in by tomorrow still. It's still due October 15th at the latest. So the quote is, taxpayers should continue to file, deposit, and pay federal income taxes as they normally would. That came from an IRS spokesperson who reached out to several news agencies out there. They went on to say the lapse in appropriations does not change federal income tax responsibility. So because they're not doing their job, they expect you to still continue to do yours out there. In a typical year, about 20 million Americans, which is about 13% of all taxpayers, ask the IRS for a tax filing extension, according to IRS data that they publish. Expenses are provided automatically if a taxpayer requests more time. Well, it provides an additional 6 months to prepare and file those federal returns. An extension can help taxpayers who are facing complex tax situations or just some that need extra time to get their documents prepared for filing. But an extension doesn't exempt you from paying taxes you owe to the IRS. Yeah, the payments are due back in April timeframe. The IRS expects taxpayers to make good on their debts by the regular April 15th deadline. So you still got to pay it, or at least estimate what you owe back in that time frame. Most IRS operations are closed right now during this government shutdown. About half of the agency's workers, as we told you here on McCollum on Business a week ago, they've been on furlough since October 8th. Essential employees are continuing to work in areas such as taxpayer services and submission processing. If you do miss that October 15th deadline, which is tomorrow, by the way, to file that extension, the IRS charges you 5% of the amount due for each month or part of the month that is late, up to a maximum of 25% if you are late at that point. The IRS says it might waive the penalty, quote, if you have a reasonable explanation for filing late. Yeah, they ask taxpayers to attach an explanation for the late filing with their tax return. If you do file late and you are owed a refund, the IRS generally doesn't charge you a penalty if you are a little bit late from that perspective. And it's the old adage of send a note. Say your dog ate your paperwork or something, or ate your taxes, and that's why it's late, and see if they buy it at that point, right? But that is still due tomorrow, even though the government is shut down. And like I said, they're not doing their job, but they want your money. So get it in there now. They'll just do tomorrow. Hey, news organizations taking a lot of heat out there. The government, this Trump administration putting some extra safeguards or some protection measures against these news agencies. And we're talking about the big ones, right? New York Times, Associated Press, Newsmax, which ironically enough of the other ones, they are a conservative company, Newsmax is. Well, they said yesterday they will not sign a Defense Department document about its new press rules. So that means that it's likely the Trump administration will evict their reporters from their Pentagon offices that they have. These outlets say the policy threatens to punish them for routine news gathering that is protected by the First Amendment. The Washington Post, The Atlantic, and Reuters, well, they said on Monday They publicly joined that group that will not be signing that letter. So more people are jumping on it as it's getting closer to that deadline. AP came out and said they also would not sign for that document later in the day. Of course, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, he reacted. He posted the time statement that they're not going to sign it on X. He added the goodbye hand waving emoji as his response. His team has said that reporters who don't acknowledge the policy in writing by today must turn in badges admitting them to the Pentagon, and they have to clear out their workspaces the next day. The new rules, if you're wondering what they are, well, they bar journalists access to large swaths of the Pentagon without an escort. So now they can roam freely to certain areas and no more, he says. Hegseth can revoke press access to reporters who ask anyone in the Defense Department for information, classified or otherwise, that he has not personally approved for release. So a lot of the restrictions coming into the reporters, because a lot of leaks happen there in the Pentagon, as we know. And so that's kind of being clamped down on, and the agencies are kind of fighting back. If they all say no, see what happens at that point, right? Moving forward. So that's in the battle here right now in terms of reporting and, getting access to things to report on. And one thing we know for sure is these car manufacturers with the EV credits going away, they're all kind of dealing with that stuff there in terms of the federal tax credits on the EVs and building them. They got tax credits. Well, we now know how it's affecting some of them. Specifically, General Motors, they're going to record a negative impact. Yes, $1.6 billion in its next quarter after tax incentives for those electric vehicles were slashed here in the U.S. And then, of course, the rules governing emissions are being relaxed. So you don't need those tighter emissions controls are going away as well. And you don't need cars that go 1,000 miles, per gallon. The EV tax credit ended last month. And the clean vehicle tax credit, if you didn't know, was worth $7,500 for new EVs, $4,000 for new ones, well, up to $4,000. Gone away now. The Environmental Protection Agency has been working on easing rules aimed at cleaning up auto tailpipe emissions because the Trump administration is moving to undo incentives to automakers who go electric. President Trump has also challenged federal EV charging infrastructure money. He's even blocked California's ban of new gas-powered vehicle sales. It adds up to less pressure on automakers to continue growing, expanding, evolving their production away from those traditional gas-burning vehicles. General Motors, they've led the way among U.S. automakers with plans to convert production to an electric fleet of vehicles. And now they'll have to book the charges that include non-cash impairment and other charges of $1.2 billion, all due to that EV capacity adjustments. There's also $400 million in charges, mostly related to contract cancellation fees and commercial settlements associated with EV-related investments. GM has warned that it may take additional hints as it adjusts production, non-cash charges, potentially impacting operations and cash flow coming up in the future for GM. So that's just one company dealing with those tax credits going away and the restrictions coming up here. And you could always keep making the vehicles. They do sell, but it's not cost effective for them to do so as those cars are more expensive at this point. So they're kind of getting out of the business, or at least getting out of the business as much as they've been in it here coming up. And let's go from cars to the skies out there. Qantas Airways is an Australian airline, and they said that one of the several companies whose customer data, well, it was posted online following a July cyber incident, and it impacted millions of customers. Qantas is a major airline, and they said in a statement that it's working with cybersecurity experts to investigate what data was part of the release that hit the internet. The airline also said it has a court order in place to prevent the stolen data from being accessed, viewed, released, used, transmitted, or published by anyone, including third parties that can get their access to it. Good luck with that court order, right? Yeah. There's also it's also illegal to break in and hack that information. That didn't stop them from doing it. The airline implemented additional security measures, such as increased training across its teams and strengthened system monitoring and detection ever since it detected that unusual activity on a third party platform that Qantas does use in their contact center that holds service records for 6 million people, as where that breach happened there for Qantas. It wasn't their stuff, it was that third party, which generally is where the hacking happens at. After discovering the incident, well, Qantas issued concerns that a significant amount of customer data was stolen. It also alerted customers about what specific personal data actually could have been impacted. During the initial review, the airline discovered that some customers' names, email addresses, and phone numbers, even your birth date, along with the frequent flyer numbers, were sent out. So they originally said that was all that was out. Well, they confirmed following that review that credit card details, personal financial information, and passport details, they are not held in that system, so that's why that wasn't released out into the system. So thank goodness that wasn't a part of it. Frequent flyer account passwords, well, that was affected. PIN numbers, login details, something to look into there if you flew Qantas, and they have that information out there, as we know that they were one of those big companies from that July impacted side of things, and those data breaches have been big this last couple of years here on these companies and third-party companies that these big companies are using out there. We talk a lot about OpenAI, right? They're getting in with Intel. They're getting in with Taiwan Semiconductor. They're making a lot of partnerships out there. Well, OpenAI announced yesterday that they're partnering with Broadcom to produce its first in-house artificial intelligence processor. So this is another chip partnership here for ChatGPT maker, OpenAI. They own ChatGPT. Races to secure the computing power that it needs to meet surging demand for its services. So both of these companies, Broadcom and OpenAI, said on Monday that OpenAI would design the chips and Broadcom would develop and deploy starting in the second half of 2026. They will roll out 10 gigawatts worth of custom chips. That power consumption is roughly equivalent to the needs of more than 8 million U.S. households. So basically 5 times the electricity produced by the Hoover Dam, if you want to do a comparison side. The agreement is the latest in a string of massive AI chips investments that have highlighted, OpenAI's surging appetite for computing power because it's racing to build systems that meet or surpass human intelligence. OpenAI last week, as I told you, they unveiled that 6 gigawatt AI chip supply deal with AMD. It includes an option to buy a stake in AMD at the same time. Then before that, they had disclosed that NVIDIA had planned to invest up to $100 billion into OpenAI and provide it with data center systems with at least 10 gigabytes of capacity from NVIDIA. Financial details of the agreement, well, they weren't disclosed, but we're not even sure how OpenAI is going to fund the deal coming up. But OpenAI making some serious deals with some serious companies out there to keep their performance up and keep improving it as well as something to look forward to. And, we see a lot of reports out there on how much seasonal hiring's coming up here. And the numbers are depressed, obviously, with the economy that we're in. Well, we do know one large company, we'll talk Amazon here. They're hiring full-time, part-time, seasonal roles. So about 250,000 positions here for the holidays are being posted weekly through December for Amazon. Amazon touted the regular, full, and part-time employees. You can earn an average of $23 per hour with benefits. Seasonal employees can earn an average wage of over $19 per hour if you're hired for the seasonal side. The company said it would invest over $1 billion into additional pay and benefits for its fulfillment and transportation employees, bringing the average total of compensation, to more than $30 per hour when you include the value of the elected benefits. Aside from pay, the company said its seasonal roles offer flexible schedules. Meanwhile, workers who stay on for regular full-time roles, the opportunities expand further. You can get access to a range of benefits, including healthcare, educational programs such as Career Choice. That's where the company will prepay tuition for workers, that earn college degrees or certificates. So seasonal work is a way to get in with these companies and try to impress them to continue the employment side. Amazon, as we've talked about already, it's only one of a handful of companies making public commitments to hire holiday staffing. Following a summer of subdued hiring, seasonal retail hiring is expected to fall to its lowest point since the recession timeframe of 2009. This is all from that recent report we talked about here at McCollum on Business from job placement firm Challenger, Gray, and Christmas out there. So they said they were expecting only a 500,000 limit of hiring. So Amazon right there, if that story is correct, already getting about half of that amount out there. So yes, we talked about GM's electric charging write-offs here, billions of dollars there. Well, charging an electric vehicle, if you got one or you're looking to get one still, well, it could get much quicker. ChargePoint is coming out with a next generation direct current, which is DC, right? Fast charging architecture is what they're calling it. ChargePoint is one of America's largest electric vehicle charging networks. They've actually powered over 9 billion electric miles to date. They have plans for expansion coming up. The EV charging network, well, it's not just expanding the network itself, meaning more places to charge. It's also going to get faster. This is all according to the CEO of ChargePoint. Their CEO's name is Rick Wilmer. He calls the upcoming DC fast charging architecture a major innovation. He did explain that the new 600 kilowatt charging stations will be more efficient and more cost effective, converting energy to recharge EVs in an exclusive interview that he put out there. ChargePoint is partnering with global power management company Eaton. They're going to connect chargers with those DC grids. So right now, they're not using DC infrastructure, right? It's the level 1 and level 2 charging system that isn't part of those DC grids. So the CEO said it will dramatically reduce the size of chargers for the amount of power that they deliver. That's going to save drivers and charging station hosts money and electrical costs because of increased efficiency. ChargePoint Express Grid, well, those locations will host these 600 kilowatt charging stations. They're going to be capable of recharging passenger EVs in as little as 10 minutes, folks. No more. I can get 400, 500 kilowatts in some of my EV Go stations I go to when I need them. It still takes me, if it's down in the 20% range, it takes me about 30, 40 minutes to get up to the 80% level based off of those levels. So increased time frame here, or less time frame, I guess I should say, moving forward. So ChargePoint expects to begin deliveries of charging station components in the second half of 2026. So faster EV charging, well, it's around the corner, right? And ChargePoint is expanding that network, and those stations will make it a little bit quicker, a lot quicker, folks, if it is good to come out there. So some innovation still in that EV world as we're looking at that side of things. And when we come back here at McCollum on Business, well, we're looking at a couple local stories here coming up. Gold, we're going to talk about. Yes, especially here in Arizona. An interesting thing is happening. Energy Fuels, MP Materials, USA Rare Earth, Polaris, stocks we're going to pay attention to. Come on back, folks. It's McCollum on Business. And we're back here at McCollum on Business. Appreciate you joining me here for this Tuesday edition. We're going to get into some gold stuff that's happening here in Arizona and all of that. But you just saw, of course, commercial for The Real Matrix. Folks, the first 3 episodes are up. If you're into what the government's doing out there, well, join the Angry Patriots. First 3 episodes are live here at Robat TV. Been up for a week or so. Wednesdays at noon is when the new episodes are going to come up. So tomorrow at noon, new episode. The 4th one will be up and running for you. Here at Robat TV, of course, you can get that at the free YouTube page as well for the shows that we produce here. Of course, it is out on a free podcast system for those of you that just want to listen to the podcast. Right now, out on Podbean, just search The Real Matrix, and it comes right up for you out there. This show, of course, we're live here at 11 o'clock. Normally at 11 o'clock today, we're a little late. We're doing some stuff around the studio, but we are here, and as soon as we're done, it goes live up, of course, on demand at Robat TV and on the YouTube page as well. Of course, no podcast version of this show at this time. You've got the Pit Stop, the Look Back show, which we look back at the racing at Las Vegas. That was up yesterday, Monday afternoon here. Robat TV, YouTube page is up as well, and then that has the free podcast on Podbean right now as well. At the Pit Stop Talk is where you can find that on Robat. Just search, Podbean. Just search for that, or follow us on social media as well. At the Pit Stop Talk, that's where you can find all the race-based stuff here around the deal. And the Look Ahead show coming up here on Thursday of this week, where we look ahead to the racing at Talladega this weekend. All 3 national series underway. So look for that. Follow that as well. And, of course, the main event here, my signature show. We talk sports with me and 17-year NFL veteran Del Hellestree. Well, that was live this morning. Bruce Cooper, local legend, joined us this morning. Of course, that's live here at Robat TV, 8 to 10 a.m. As soon as it's done, we put it out on YouTube for free for On Demand. It's On Demand here at Robat TV. Of course, the YouTube page, free podcasts on any of the local podcast systems that you listen to any podcast on. You will find that out there. So give it a listen. Check it out, of course, as well. And our programming is growing here in terms of production of what we do. Those shows are ones that we produce. Me, Kobe, Riley put all those together, and Ethan for you guys out there. And we're looking to grow it as well. So if you have any ideas on shows, well, let us know. It can be weekly, monthly, whatever you want to talk about. We'd love to work with you here at our new studios and all of that. It's just fun to do this here as we continue to grow. And, folks, let's get right back into it with that Market Watch. Well, we got some slippage here coming out. I mean, S&P 500 is teetering between red and green here as the show goes on. Dow, of course, up 207 points right now. They were up over 400 points earlier in the day. Of course, last time we looked at it was well into the 300s. So we're seeing some sell-off happening as you see the S&P 500 just went negative here, switching back and forth. Dow Jones is up 223 points right now. S&P 500, well, like I said, flipping back and forth, so let's just call it even right now, because the second I say it, it'll flip to the other side for that S&P 500. NASDAQ continued to be negative right now, 24 points down for it. The Russell 2K, the small cap index, 39 points up as of right now. That was 50 points up a couple hours ago as well. So you're seeing some sell-off happening. And then Bitcoin, it's under that 113,000 level that we saw it at here at the beginning of the show. 112,531. Interesting enough, I just saw a headline pop up. It says Bitcoin slips under 113,000 amid U.S.-China trade uncertainty. That's from CNBC's Crypto World that I follow and read about those crypto stuff from CNBC. And it is a sell-off here as the day is going on the market based off of U.S.-China fears that are happening and those trade worries. And the government shutdown isn't affecting the market per se as much as you thought it would when the market started, but we'll see if that changes the longer it goes on. Well, one thing I know is being affected by the China, U.S. talk here on the trade stuff. Well, rare earth miners out there. First one we're going to look at, Energy Fuels is what we're going to look at. Well, these stocks are all moving higher. China imposed export restrictions and Speculation mounted that the Trump administration is going to invest in more domestic supply chain, which would be these companies coming up, right? Energy fuels, 11.49% up. MP Materials is the next one we're going to look at as well. MP Materials also up today, 3.09% for them. And then, of course, U.S. Rare Earth that we've talked a lot about here lately. It's actually down 3.77% right now. It was up about 1% earlier in the day. So well, actually, I can tell you it was 1% when we were prepping the show with the updates on these stocks. So they've gone negative here in the last hour and a half or so, U.S. Rare Earth. But so one negative there in terms of this, but the rumors continue to insist that the government is going to continue to invest in these companies, which is causing their stocks up. And U.S. Rare Earth is up for the week. And last week as well, they were up based off of those rumors as well. And what's happened with U.S. Rare Earth, they've already invested into them. Next up, we got Polaris, that stock. Snowmobile, right? Jet skis, they do. Well, they're up 14.24% here today. They said they're going to spin off its Indian motorcycle business into its own company. The transaction is expected to close in the first quarter of 2026. Anytime you're going to spin off a company and the stock goes up for the main company, well, that means usually it means investors think that Indian Motorcycles, in this case, is dragging down the overall stock here and looking to unload it. Polaris is, and 14.24% for that soon-to-be standalone Indian Motorcycles company away from Polaris at that point. So it's interesting when companies do that. They get rid of those low-performing ones and kind of shrink it up a little bit, especially when it's not a big conglomerate doing it. Well, gold, as we know, has gone well over $4,000 an ounce. That's where it kind of is right now. It ranges 4,100, etc. Just a month ago, it was in the 3,500 range. Well, what does that mean for Arizona? Well, it means people are getting innovative again because it's led to an increase of prospecting club memberships, folks. People have seen the price of gold and said, I'm going to go mine for these hills of gold. The Roadrunners Prospector Club is in Phoenix. It's seen a 10% increase in membership this year. This is according to the club's president, Jeff Roman. A month ago, as I said, gold was at, 36 or 3,400 a month ago. People are joining these gold prospector clubs. They take memberships, and then you get opportunities to mine, etc. for it. People are jumping on this bandwagon, folks. So I don't know. I'm not going to tell you if I know it's a good deal. I don't tell you that. If anything, it might be a little fun, right? Do you have to grow a beard and wear suspenders and baggy old jeans? Yeah, I know that was I guess a stereotype of old gold miners, right? Lose some teeth. I don't know. But people are going that route. And interesting. I don't even think that way. So interesting people are thinking that way out there. And the hot summer's over here for us. We might have some ups and downs maybe for another week or so before it kind of settles down. Well, organizations that offer utility assistance to those low-income Arizonans, they always see a surge of demand this time of year. Well, and it's very simply why. The Arizona Corporation Commission bars many of the state's power companies. So it would be APS, SRP, Tucson Electric. Well, you can't disconnect customers between June 1st through October 15th. So if you don't pay, you can't get turned off. You still owe the money. And it just piles up every month, but you don't owe it at that point. So obviously that's because you're not supposed to be left without air conditioning during the hottest times of the summer. By the way, SRP isn't regulated by the Arizona Corporation Commission, so they're not, but they still won't disconnect customers for non-payment in July and August. So although they're not regulated the same as Tucson Electric and APS, they still do work with that system and things to that effect. So it's not just July or August. The SRP will also not do it if there's an excessive heat warning in effect if it does fall. So if that one falls in June, they won't do it at that point either. Arizona community action agencies report similar surges of people looking for help to catch up on their bill in October. Some low-income Arizonans, they aren't aware of the summer utility shutoff moratoriums, so they're surprised by how much they owe when it cools down, and the threat of turning your power off actually hits them, right? In most cases, the people his organization serves simply can't keep up with huge costs of cooling a home through the Arizona summer. And when I said he, by the way, I'm talking about those organizations that deal with and help people out here to pay these deals. By the way, the companies, APS, et cetera, fund these organizations to help them get people caught up on their bills instead of going through the utilities themselves to do it as well. Also, this year, the other problem, besides electricity being more expensive out there, like every year, I do my same thing on my house every year, and every year my bill goes up just because of the price increases these utilities are putting in. So there's higher utility rates. Then, of course, you've got all the issues on the federal side of cutting some assistance for lower-income people. Like food assistance was cut this year. And those other programs that lower-income people that kind of rely on, well, they're putting more strain on people to pay those electric bills out there. So just keep that in mind here. The cutoff of that is tomorrow, October 15th, which means if you're behind on your power bill or know people that are, got to get caught up or they will shut it off here for you. And then you get all those extra fees to turn it on and all of that information. So, but there are utilities, there are people out there and agencies that help with it. And they are looking for volunteers. I know a bunch of them do that. And, of course, looking for people to work with them and donate to them to help them, help people, keep their electricity on here in Arizona through those high-powered times. And now let's go to Boy Scouts. We don't talk about Scouting America much here on the program, but, hey, they're adding a couple new merit badges coming up here. Of course, Scouting America was formerly known as the Boy Scouts. They've kind of gone general in that name. They're giving Scouts the chance to earn 2 new merit badges, and it's engaging new technology out there for these options. One is an artificial intelligence badge, and the other cybersecurity badge as well. The Boy Scouts organization, or Scouting America, it counts about 1 million scouts in its ranks, offering hundreds of merit badges spanning everything from fishing, fingerprinting, and everything in between you can think of. The badges have long presented scouts with the opportunity to sharpen their skills, explore new subjects at the same time. Scouting America is adding these 2 new badges as part of a broader effort to stay relevant. Well, everything's going digital in the world right now, right? So the new badges aren't the first foray into AI. They launched an AI chatbot called Scoutly over the summer. That's to answer questions about the organization and its merit badges. The AI badge will challenge scouts to examine the effects of AI on daily life, also to learn about the impacts of deep fakes, and work on a project that neither corporation AI or explains the technology in a way other scouts will understand as well. So AI is a badge. And the other one, cybersecurity. Well, it teaches young people the tools they need to, quote, stay safe and also keep themselves and their families secure against all the threats that are out there, unquote. Yes. It introduces scouts to an industry in need of recruits. Cybersecurity needs a lot of workers to stay relevant and keep growing. And thousands of unfilled cybersecurity jobs are out there, mainly because lack of skilled workers that can go into that field. So look at that. Boy Scouts, really Scouting America, adding those merit badges out there to get some interest going in those sides. And now the story I've been waiting to talk about all day. Because as soon as I say this, I apologize. You're going to have one song in your head the rest of the afternoon. Crocs is partnering with T-Pain, folks. Who would have thought we'd be saying that ever on McCollum on Business or anywhere in life? Yes, well, here we go, folks. The Boots with the Fur from Flow Riders' 2008 song, Low. That featured T-Pain. There you go, folks. Crocs coming out with a collaboration. The lyrics of the song, if you don't know, well, they're pretty simple. Shorty had them apple-bottom jeans, boots with the fur. I'm trying not to rap it. The whole club was looking at her. She hit the floor. You're welcome, folks, for the song. The classic, unforgettable Leonard knee-high boot is described by Crocs as one of the wildest fan-inspired creations yet. And they're officially Crocs' tallest silhouette ever, 35.4 inches, folks. Yeah, that's all according to the Crocs press release they sent out. They're wrapped in a plush vegan leopard print for fur and adorned with 17 gibbets charms. Chains and embellishments embodying self-expression, folks. Crocs says the limited edition statement piece introduces new design elements, including a backstrap, a clip, and metal loop rivet, offering fans new opportunities for personalization. A lot of big words in this press release. Whew. This classic, well, let's just say it. This unforgettable, this you will talk to the people wearing this leopard knee-high boot. It's going to be available on Crocs Day. Mark your calendar. It's October 23rd. It'll be featured alongside an exclusive collection of faux fur trimmed footwear and blends eye-catching style, they say, with everyday comfort. That's what Crocs claims. Are you ready? You got to have a price tag, though, to get the boots with the fur, to have everybody looking at you. You have to pay $159.99 is what it's going to retail for, according to Crocs. It'll be available, purchased globally, crocs.com. And it'll be in-store only if you're in the Soho store of New York City. Their Crocs Soho store, it'll be available in-store there as well. They're being released as part of the brand's, what they call Croctober. It's a month-long, unforgettable, some would say, celebration to the community that inspires its creativity out there. Song came out in 2008, folks. And we're getting a Crocs-inspired T-Pain partnership 2025. Yeah. All right, folks, it's time to go hit the floor. Let's do it. Shorty got low. We'll see y'all tomorrow. McCollum on Business, Wednesday edition, 11 o'clock here. See you then, everybody.